let's talk about everybody's new best friend, ChatGPT, or as I call it, Jippy. How many of you use Jippy daily? Show of hands. Okay, not too bad. Now, how many of you have never ever used it? Wow, excellent. We have some. So you may want to find yourself on this graph and see which country you belong to. Now, the good news that I have for you is we are early. All of us here in this room today who are learning about this, thinking about this, working on this, we're early. But at the same time, I have other news. And the other news is that progress is really, really fast. On this graph, it's not easy to read, but I'll explain it to you. On the horizontal line at the 0 right there, that is human performance at different tasks. These tasks include things like language understanding, handwriting recognition, speech generation even. And the vertical dashed line you see, this is when I entered the field back in 2011 and I started doing research on this. We couldn't do anything. Like the tech was appalling. Nothing worked, everything was brittle and hacky. And I kept seeing year after year how a task we had never been able to do before all of a sudden went from we can't do it to in 3 years we do it better than humans. I see this repeatedly over and over. That leads to some good outcomes. For example, Jippy is probably one of the best doctors you can talk to at this point, combining all of these features together. But talking about text is boring, and so I'm going to be focusing on images in this talk just because it's so much easier to immediately understand. When I saw this paper back in 2014, I laughed. I thought, ha ha ha, generate faces with AI. Yeah, this is ridiculous. This is rubbish. Over the next few years, it got a bit better, still in the uncanny valley. I never thought it was more than a toy. And then 2017 happened, a huge, important year in the AI space, and that stopped us all laughing. We immediately saw that something important was happening. And this is now the state of the art. This is something you can go and make yourself with just a prompt with another image as an input. You may think, well, these systems are clearly just copying human production, human input, right? They're just imitating, cloning. They're not really creative. We've heard this before, and we'll hear it again that, oh no, AI is not creative and humans are. Well, it turns out that by certain metrics, and in this case, word choice, they're more creative than humans. And I would love to see this research actually replicated in images. I mean, I just look at this and I can't think it's not art because it wasn't made by a human. Let's talk about video. This used to be the next frontier. 3 years ago, people were laughing at the very idea that you could go from text to video. Now, this is just a production system that you can use, and it will be used in Hollywood very soon, just before Hollywood disappears. This is Google's version of the same thing, and my favorite one just came out maybe like 2 weeks ago. This is my favorite meme of all time. Now you can just go to Luma, upload a photo or whatever you want, and see what may have been happening behind the scenes. So this is an animation of what that particular moment could have looked like. This is already usable. You can just go to it. It's free, Luma. 3D is next. 3D textures. If you think about it, video games are probably bigger than the movie industry, and they're very expensive. They cost tens of millions of dollars to make, or even more, because you have to make all these assets. You have to make the textures and the 3D objects and the sounds and the voices and the storyline and the levels, etc. But now we can just go directly from an image to a 3D object with its textures reconstructed. Now we can also automatically put the joints on them to animate them, etc. So this is already going to make the game industry much, much, much cheaper and put in the hands of more people. That is not all. The robots are coming. This man in the center right there is Jensen Huang, the CEO and founder of NVIDIA, which was until like maybe 3 days ago, the world's, well, the New York Stock Exchange's most valuable company, ahead of Google and Apple and all the others you know. And that is why, I mean, and the reason that that is because they make the brains for the robots. When I say robots, I don't mean these guys, although they're impressive. People think they're scary. I think they're cute. But I don't think these are the ones you should really worry about. Let's talk about Amazon. I also worked for Jeff Bezos. I've been around. And while I was there, people were worried because Amazon thought they were going to run out of people. The reason for that is their fulfillment centers need a lot of like cheap labor, and they were treating people like dirt. They were like working them to the ground, and you need to pee in this water bottle, pee on your nappies, keep working harder. And so they thought, well, we're running out of people because this turnover, people don't want to work for us again. They come, do it once, never again. And so they were discussing internally, should we maybe, I don't know, improve the conditions of all these people? Maybe we should make it a good working environment? Nah, let's just replace them all with robots. Why bother? So top right is the current state of your Amazon fulfillment center, in case you didn't know. This is now real everywhere. This is upcoming. There are some tasks on the edge of like the big warehouse that currently are still done by humans. Things like small object manipulation, where you have to pick it up from a box and put it on a shelf, pick it from a shelf, scan it, put it in another box. But the robots are going to do this very, very soon. They've been investing tens of billions of dollars over the last 5 years in this. So those are not my favorite robots. These are the robots that drive you around. Back in 2017, I took the self-driving car, the Waymo, at Google, and it already worked. It worked fine. It's just been a slow grind of laws being passed, people getting used to it, that sort of thing. But now, last year, they did over 700,000 trips in San Francisco. This is not science fiction. This is current reality. So you may be at this point thinking, well, but Dr. Dan, I am a nomad. I don't work in an Amazon warehouse. I'm not a truck driver. I'm not a checkout person. Does this really affect me? The writing's on the wall. This photo's from Fukuoka, so hello to my Fukuoka friends in the audience. Let's talk about digital nomads. If any of you, by the way, can work like that, I'd love to talk to you afterwards. I don't know how you do it, but anyway, we are on our laptops most of our time. We all know that. But what the hell are we doing on our laptops? Well, it's hard to find very, I don't know, hard, well-collected data, but I found some surveys. And this one from Platio says that about 20% of us are in IT and technology directly. Then there's 20% in media and advertising, a bunch of entrepreneurs, as we all know. But what do we actually do? Well, if we combine that with Nomad list, the statistics they get, I realize that this is a biased sample, but putting them together, we can sort of estimate that about a third of men are some kind of developer or software engineer, and about a tenth of women. So let's talk about software engineers. This is, again, 2017. This year seems to be featuring in this presentation a lot. I was at Google, and there was this event every Thursday called TGIF. It should be called TGIT, because it's actually on Thursdays. But you got to ask questions to the founders of Google. I did a lot. I was the annoying intern who would be constantly asking them questions, like any annoying thing I could think of. And one that I asked them one day was, I used to think that as a software engineer, my job was to automate all jobs, by which I mean all human jobs. But then I realized that maybe we would be better at automating ourselves than automating anybody else whose job we don't understand. And so I'd like to hear from you guys at the top of the field. What do you think the demand for software engineers will be in the coming years? And so the VP of AI at the time, he said, oh, don't worry. Your jobs are safe many years. So many years turned out to be 6, exactly, as last year, Google started firing. Meta, Amazon, everybody started firing. And yes, I know they overhired. Yes, I know the pandemic. Yes, I know potential downturn in the economy. Of course, those are all reasons. But maybe there's one more reason. This is SWE-bench, Software Engineering Bench. This is a very hard task, collection of very hard problems for AIs to do. This is not your run-of-the-mill, hey, go to Jippy, write me code that will animate the thing on screen. No. This is, here's my existing repository of code that's an app or a website or whatever. It's very complex. Now here is an issue. So it's either a bug or a new feature or a tweak, something you want to change in an app that is already deployed and already running. This is a very hard task for a human. Computers used to be completely useless at this. And in fact, when this started, which was about October last year, the state of the art, the best they could do was 0.7% of all tasks completed. In May this year, we're up to 13.8%. Now, I'm not saying this is linear or exponential. How long do you really think until we hit 90 or 100, and therefore software engineers become less and less needed? And you would think, well, does that mean there are no jobs for software engineers? No, no, of course there are jobs, specifically on automating other software engineers right here. So from last year to this year, there's been a huge increase in jobs that automate other jobs and a significant decrease in all the jobs you know, engineers of front and back end, mobile, etc. So this is you in a nice co-working space. You're sitting there in your comfy chair with a fancy coffee, and you're working, or you're doing whatever brings you some kind of income, or maybe just joy. And that involves receiving information from a computer. It goes into your brain, processes it, and puts new information into the computer. You are essentially a brain hooked to the worldwide network. Um, and why can you do this and get money for it? Well, because you're a knowledge worker, that's what I'm getting at. You are doing this because your brain is beautiful and valuable, and it does things the computer cannot do. It does things like problem solving and thinking and planning. It understands emotions and things like that. All of these amazing things that until very recently only the human brain could do. But computer used to be a job. This is a room full of computers. Computing, look at them. This was back in the days in the Second World War when the men were out at the front fighting. The women were behind computing trajectories of missiles and shells and all of these kind of things. But that's the most boring, most menial, most pointless job for a human brain. As we all know and we talk about, we thrive when we're creative and we're challenged and we do diverse, novel things. So thankfully, we got rid of that. And over the years, we've made better and better machine computers that have freed us from the need to actually do numbers by hand. But as we get, you get an exponential increase in computing power, which is what this line is, well, it's showing per constant dollar, but yes, even better. We approach the capabilities of the human brain. We're getting close to being able to do what a human brain does in raw computing power. And so I want to make this claim to all of you today that I'm trying to convince you of, which is that there's nothing that a human can do that a machine won't be able to do better, faster, cheaper, and more reliably. And you may say, well, that's nonsense. I don't believe a word of it. No, we're beautiful and magical and creative. And if you think that, you will not be alone. In fact, many experts in artificial intelligence would think the same as you. But they are wrong. And the reason I know this is I was wrong myself, often, repeatedly. You see, this is the reality in black, and these lines that you see are how we think. Humans think linearly. We see gazelle running across the savannah, we say time 0, gazelle here, time 1, gazelle here, draw a line, that's where my arrow should be, right? This is how humans evolve. We are appalling at modeling exponential processes. This is a very concrete example of this. The black line is the real installed photovoltaic capacity worldwide. This is how much power we're generating from solar panels. And this constellation of rays of sunshine that you see is projections and predictions of panels of experts, year after year, getting it wrong. Because year after year, they think, oh, well, it will go linear, it'll go linear, it'll go linear, it'll go linear, linear. Nope, it's exponential. And this is absolute, real data. So a very specific example now, just to ground us. This is my very good friend, Luke Faulkner. He's a world-renowned pianist and composer with tens of millions of plays on Spotify. Follow him, he's great. And we've been talking for the last maybe year and a half or two about AI automating music. And I kept sending him every framework would come out and stuff. He would say, it's rubbish, it doesn't do this or it doesn't do that. Okay, cool. So he was very calm about it, no big deal. And then this happens. I'm not going to play this for you because I don't have the time really, but you do. If you haven't tested it, please do. It's unbelievable. It's Midjourney for music. It's music that just works. It's perfect. Perfect orchestration, symphonies. It makes you musicals, it makes you whatever you want. It's unbelievable. It's free, and it takes you 20 seconds to do this. I sent this to him, and he went from calm to panic, and he said, this is the real thing. I'm really impressed. I'm excited about new directions it could help me with. But at the same time, I'll be doing this as a hobbyist. because nobody will pay for music again. And then he kept going. There's no jobbing jingle composer that can really compete with this tech. I'm blown away, etc., etc. Spotify is going to save millions. So basically, this represents our distorted view of intelligence. This is from Wait by Why, an amazing blog. We think we're super smart. Einstein was smarter, and there's somebody dumber than us somewhere, and that Intel AI is somewhere over there, with like the rats or whatever. This is more the reality, is that humans are quite close to each other, and AI is just shooting through our abilities. So this is where we are, a map of all time, human progress. GP, you're here. All right. So this brings us to the ladder. And this is my metaphor to explain the social contract. You start with something. You inherit capital, status, network from your parents, your uh, tribe, your society, whatever. And through life, you educate yourself. And so you acquire skills, which, well, lead you to some work experience that gives you a network, gives you more work experience and more skills. And this cycle keeps running. As you rise in status, you acquire things, you acquire respect from society, and you climb the ladder. Well, this ladder is on fire because at this point, your ability to monetize your skills is threatened. And in fact, I predict it's going to end. So there's this quote that's been going around recently, which I really like, which is you want AI to do your laundry dishes, so you do the creative stuff, not for AI to do the creative stuff, so you do your laundry dishes. And so what's in the job? What's it all about? Well, yes, there's money, but that comes from contributing to society, feeling useful, gives you a sense of self-worth, and it gives you an identity in your socioeconomic status. So this is the problem. All right, so that's the problem. Where's the opportunity? I don't have a lot of time for the opportunity. So this idea has been going around Twitter recently that given that software is going to be soon automated, it will bloom. There'll be an explosion, Cambrian explosion of software. Everyone can make an app or a website, whatever. I think that's exactly true. But I also think anyone can now write a book and put together a course and make a movie. And very soon, video games, online communities, dating sites, Uber for alpaca farming, whatever you want. You can make anything because the cost of digital goods is trending to zero. This is the famous founder of Y Combinator, Paul Graham. He recently tweeted this like 2 days ago. He said, if AI allows companies to be smaller, that'll be great because people are terrible, etc. And then this person says, imagine all the people looking for jobs. And he says, well, just have more companies. All right then, more companies, entrepreneurship. I'm sure many of you are entrepreneurs here and you know it's hard. I've been doing it for years and years and it sucks. And the reason is people. Okay, I love people, but they're hard, right? People need to be convinced, need to be found selected, need to be hired and upskilled and put into teams and managed and constantly motivated. And then they have to be fired when they're not doing their job properly. And it's a really hard set of skills to acquire. So then maybe you say, well, screw people. I'm going solo. Solopreneurs. This is a big thing. And we know some famous people, Tony Din and Peter Levels of Nomad List. But this is a completely separate set of very hard skills to acquire as well. Here we're talking about being every single one of those people that you would have hired otherwise, which is a lot of effort and focus and changing hats all the time. So it's also really hard. I think there's going to be a new type of entrepreneur, which we're going to be talking about today a lot. So we're going to be hearing from Leanne as well, which I call the ultrapreneur. This is essentially a human that is at the head of hundreds of companies that they may not even know they own because they have AI agents working for them. So this is one of my favorite comics of all time, Make me a startup. What? Make yourself. Pseudo make me a startup. For the nerds in the audience, there are a bunch of frameworks that exist for this already, like MetaGPT, and we can discuss this. And it's all early, and that's good, right? It's not there yet, but you can see how it's going to happen. Like the founder of Spotify recently gave a demo on stage where he had created some content or changed some website exactly doing this with an AI company of agents working with each other. This is from last night. I thought I had to fit it in because I was in bed. I was like, oh, this is perfect. This is the tweet I need. So this lady's saying, most people shouldn't learn automation. I'm not saying you shouldn't. Yes, everything we've been hearing about and we'll hear more after is fantastic. But I think you really should think as well about how to decouple yourself from whatever business you have. You should think how you can start to delegate your tasks to AI systems or to humans who orchestrate AI systems. But basically, try to think of the process and remove yourself from it. Delegate, delegate, and get rid of it. So, final tally, how does the human do versus the machine? Well, human needs daily rest of 8 to 10 hours a day. Machine needs 0. A human learns individually. Each of us has to learn over and over. The machine learns once, all of them know whatever they've learned. A human needs purpose, motivation, a community stimulation, feeling of belonging and love. Machine needs electricity, cooling, and maintenance. And a human performs 0 to 100% depending on how you feel that day, what the coffee was like. I don't know, is it cold? Is it hot? Did you sleep well? How was last night? Did you go out? Are you hungover? The machine, 100% as long as you give it electricity, cooling, and maintenance. So the machine wins. Flawless victory. But wait, there's one more thing. A human can own things and the machine cannot. The humans win. Hooray! Hooray for humans. There's the way I think things are going to go eventually is we're going to get some kind of universal basic income in some shape or form. I don't know exactly what it will look like, but I do know it's not immediate. And while it might lead to a beautiful utopia as imagined by Jippy, I think that in the meantime, the main conversation we should be having is about who owns what. And I would like to end this presentation with one of my favorite headlines of all time, which says, just own the damn robots. And here's the slides. Please follow me on socials. If you have interesting photos or videos of me, please send them.